Hi everyone, I am Chan Mao, a community evangelist at Alexio. In the previous video of our new series, Getting Started with Alexio on Kubernetes, we introduced the architecture of Alexio on Kubernetes. In this video, Sean will demonstrate how to deploy Alexio on Kubernetes.
Now let's talk about how we can deploy Alexio on Kubernetes. So here are some prerequisites. First, of course, we need a running Kubernetes cluster. You can get a Kubernetes cluster by using EKS control. This is offered by AWS. This will launch a EKS cluster managed by AWS. And then you need to install Helm on the control plane of your Kubernetes cluster. The Helm is able to package and publish Kubernetes resource definitions and enables templating Kubernetes YAML files. Without Helm, what you will need is a bunch of, not one, but like a bunch of YAML files that consists of every single resource of the Alexio cluster, and you probably there are like tens or even hundreds of lines you have to come up with to start your cluster. But with Helm, you only need to specify only a very small subset of them, and then the templating will populate all the configurations you configured into the pre-generated YAML templates so that you don't have to write every single line of them. And Helm is also able to manage installation lifecycle. So installation, of course, and then it can also do upgrade, and also can do installation. So Helm is a very handy tool when it comes with deploying. Thinking of which, I remember, I think it was last year, a colleague of mine went to the KubeCon conference. He saw like some people put out a post saying, Kubernetes, you promised us it's just going to be about some YAML files. And then Kubernetes becomes more and more complicated. The applications clusters get more and more complicated. Like a few YAML files are not going to be enough. They need like, I don't know, tens, even hundreds of YAML files just to deploy a application, which is of course not scalable at all. This is why Helm and also Operator comes in. They packages all the templates so that you don't have to write so many configuration YAML files. So after fulfill the prerequisites, first we need to download Alexio Helm chart. Our open source Helm chart is published on a public URL, which is this link here. And if you run this Helm repo add this link, your Helm packaging will remember this repository. And later on, when we use this, it will automatically download from this URL. The next step, we need to construct a configuration file. Here, let's first talk about a very basic one. So know that this is not for production usage. It's only for testing Alexio out. But first of all, you need to include your Ender file system, which basically is your database, if we put it in a simple way. So it can be HDFS, it can be S3, it can be Azure and stuff. That's why your UFS. Include your credentials, and then a few more settings, including disable the short circuit functionality and use empty directory for master journal. And then we save this file as config.yaml. So this is the bare minimum configuration file we can to get Alexio cluster running. And let me repeat again, this is not for production. This is only for like trying Alexio out. Now we have download the Helm chart, we have our configuration file, and then the third step, we can do installation. And it's just going to be one line command, Helm install Alexio, specify the configuration file we just come up with, and then the Helm chart that we just downloaded, and then we're good to go. You can see from the bottom, the Kubernetes already, well, the Helm helped us deploy Alexio on Kubernetes. Now we have a cluster of one master and two workers. The reason we have two workers here is because this cluster that I used for testing has two host machines. And remember, worker by default is deployed on every single host machine. So now here we have two. And previously, I was saying it's better if we have multiple copy of masters for high availability. But for testing purpose here I only have one master.
Thank you, Sean, for an in-depth tutorial on how to deploy Alexio on Kubernetes. In the next and last part of this series, Sean will be sharing some best practices with recommendations and configurations. Check out our docs page on running Alexio on Kubernetes for a more detailed explanation. If you have any questions about deployment, make sure to join our Alexio Slack community and send your questions to the troubleshooting channel. Thanks for watching and see you in our next video.